Okay, so part two. I'll just pick up in the timeline of where I left off. Um, I really wasn't suspecting anything at the time. I enjoyed Tabitha's company, a Gracie girl, because we got along so well and we did a lot of things together. We shopped together, we went to restaurants together, we went and got our hair done together. Uh, we did everything together. We were close friends. So, what's interesting though is when Tabitha first came into the picture, she had brown hair. And it didn't take her long before she went light blonde, like myself. So she would style her hair exactly like mine. And to be honest, from the back, we looked like twins. Similar build, and then our hair was identical. So from the back, we looked like twins. And since we had a similar fashion sense, she started to dress exactly like me. I don't know why it is so fuzzy. Stop being fuzzy. Woohoo, stop being fuzzy. We had similar fashion sense. So if I had on an outfit that she liked, then she would show up the next week or whatever with the same outfit. You're not going to eat the books. No, ma'am. It's Gracie. She's back in the house. Hold on. Okay. So then we really looked like twins when we're wearing the exact same clothes and our hair is styled the exact same way. We were like twins. So at first, it didn't really bother me. If I would mention it to somebody, they'd say, well, imitation is the biggest form of flattery. So it's just, yeah. No. Anyway, that's calculated. And that goes back to red flag number 2. I would say that that's pretty obsessive, They're not just interested in what you do and maybe saying things like, yeah, that's me, I like the same thing. But if they then try to look like you or dress like you or do their hair like you, red flag. So, as we continued to get to know one another, I shared with her my love for singing. And of course, she also loved to sing. And, I just thought, wow, it's another way that we're so similar. The truth of the matter is, a Jezebel doesn't, where was it? A Jezebel has no identity of their own, no real gifts or talents. They will feed off of others like a leech, stealing ideas and counterfeiting other people's gifts in order to establish themselves or become popular. So if a gifted or talented person has a Jezebel friend, then that person will suffer greatly because the Jezebel will act like a friend, yet they are in fact an enemy who is seeking to sabotage them and their gifts. This is exactly what happened in my relationship with her. This would manifest a little bit later on. So, that's how it started. So, eventually, I started to pick up on her propensity to tell subtle lies. They weren't completely outrageous at first, so when she would tell them, I would be left feeling, well, I guess it could be true. The subtlety, though, soon turned into some pretty outrageous claims. So outlandish that I would have an eternal alarm bell go off that, woohoo, that probably wasn't true. But she spoke these things so effortlessly, which is calculated because that lowers somebody else's defenses. It lowered my defenses. She spoke it so effortlessly, it was like, well, well, then why would she make that up? Or why would she lie about that? Why would she make up that story? So my defenses were lowered because I wanted to believe that what she was saying, and telling us was true. The truth of the matter is that it's fuzzy again, Jezebels lie effortlessly. They lie to cover up their evil intentions. It's much easier for them to tell a lie than to tell a truth. I know that now, but back then her lying was just something that we overlooked for a long time. So I just figured she really wanted to fit in, and was just aiming for our acceptance. So she felt the need to sound even more special or interesting. How sad that must be, and how misplaced it was, because all we ever did was welcome and accept her. So we just called this issue a personality quirk and kind of just ignored it, because what harm was it really causing? If it wasn't hurting anyone, well, just let her tell her quirky stories, which were lies. Confronting the lying at that point was never in my mind, because again, the persona that she put off was just so sweet and docile, and it just drew you to her. That's the web. That's how it sets up. I even felt badly when an alarm bell would go off in my head, because why would I doubt her? So what I now know and understand is that this was a manipulation and control tactic. She was so good at manipulating our perceptions of her, even to the point of me not wanting to even think that what she was doing was wrong, much less worth confronting her on. So her charade was an incredibly controlling one. Because we didn't deal with the lying immediately, largely based on our own uncertainty of whether or not what she would say was true, partially true, or just an outright lie, and we just chalked it up to a personality quirk, the lying eventually took on another dimension. So, red flag. If this person is making up stories, if they're telling half-truths, which are whole lies, if they're just flat out lying, whether it's about something so ridiculous as a talking refrigerator, or so outlandish, red flag. Okay, it's red flag. So her lying then morphed into something that I will refer to as a one-upmanship. And this is another tactic and trait that these individuals are known for, because everything is a competition to them. Those who they've set their sights on, and they're competing with, they, unfortunately, this is how it's going to go down, So, one-upmanship. If a narcissist or Jezebel feels like they've gotten away with something, they are going to continue to push boundaries and up the ante. For example, this is going to sound a tad morbid, but when I was a senior in high school, my best friend was killed in a car accident. So I shared that with her, and then she took that opportunity to tell me about several of her best friends that were killed in car accidents. So once again, I would hear her story and think, I mean, I guess it could be true. Perhaps she has lost that many best friends in car accidents. So it lowered my defenses. It could have been true. So and you don't want to doubt her. Why would she make up something like that? So your defenses are lowered. My defenses were lowered. If I had won $50 and she knew about it, she would then share how she won $500. That's just an example of what I mean when I refer to, one-upmanship stories. So because they view everything as a competition, unfortunately, our relationship turned into a competition in her mind. She desired the control and the feeling of winning or outdoing anything that I was also doing, but I didn't know this or understand it at the time. So what I also missed then, but now know, is that these individuals will lie and exaggerate frequently, and it is all in an effort to feel superior to those that they have set their sights on. And I was that person to Tabitha. Within a year of meeting Tabitha, I auditioned for a national singing competition. And I ended up making it to the finals of the show and had to relocate to Los Angeles to compete. Just prior to heading out to LA, though, there was a breakup. Tabitha was no longer around, and I'm not going to delve into the reasoning for that breakup because that is somebody else's story. But the fallout was significant, okay? So I became very protective over my family member who was so devastated. Tabitha had completely lost our trust. And that was the first time that I saw the other side to her. It wasn't the docile, sweet, soft-spoken, eager to please charade. It was the complete opposite. So having been heartbroken for my family member and having my own relationship with her destroyed, I left for Los Angeles. And while in LA, just a few weeks later, I learned that their relationship was back on. And not only that, but Tabitha was all over the blogs and websites in huge support of me. So she told everyone who she was and how she was connected to me. And I admittedly was surprised that she, was showing such support of me after, things had been cut off. So, I was surprised that they were back together. I thought that it was toxic at that point, and but once again my defenses were lowered when I saw her tremendous support of me everywhere online. I just thought, wow, that's so nice of her to support me so much in this endeavor of mine. What I now know is that she wasn't doing that to support me. She was using my success to gain attention to herself when she would reveal to everyone that she was connected to me. And it did garnish her plenty of attention online. So another thing that I now know, this was her attempt to do something called hovering. Big red flag. Hovering is a tactic that both a narcissist and a Jezebel will do in a relationship if they feel like they've lost some form of control. So at that point in time, Tabitha and I had zero contact. I was strongly opposed to what had happened to my family member, and therefore my relationship with her at that point was non-existent. But as I saw her online activity in such support of me, it drew me back into the web. I had just hoped that perhaps she really had changed and felt remorse for what she had done in their relationship, which definitely affected and impacted all of us. So she was successful in ingratiating herself back into the picture. So at this point, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go to part 3 and pick up from here. Hope you guys will join me.